So, Joel Embiid is officially out of contention for MVP after missing 17 games and not reaching the 65-game threshold the NBA recently added in, and a lot of people are really upset about this. Draymond Green came out and called the new rule BS. Rachel Nichols came out and disagreed with the rule a lot. Overall, the reaction has been pretty mixed, but because of how he's played this year, people still believe that he should win MVP even if he only plays like 50 games. And I'm here to tell you why I think that's stupid. The 65-game rule was put into place to prevent players from load managing and missing games just to miss games, which has been a reoccurring problem in the NBA for the past few years. A lot of the top guys in the league missing games without being injured isn't good for the fans or the teams, and players will simply sit out to avoid injury without actually any health problems or concerns, and the NBA noticed this and put a rule in to motivate players to show up to games. And what should have been taken as a rule to simply prevent load management has become a bigger debate tactic for MVP and awards themselves. People are calling it unfair for Joel Embiid to not receive the MVP just because he's missed over 65 games, but based on how unhealthy he looked in his last game against the Warriors, and now he's apparently going through knee surgery and could be out for the next month or two, I am more than willing to bet that with this rule being in place or not, Embiid would not have won MVP. When you look at the games that past MVPs have played in a season, not including the shortened seasons, Bill Walton is the only player to ever win MVP playing under 65 games in a full 82-game season, which happened back in 1978. The guy with the second lowest amount of games was Joel Embiid himself, last season when he only played 66 games and won the MVP. Players reaching over the 65-game mark has quite literally never been a problem, and the basis for judging the MVP is whoever the most valuable player is. And how valuable are you really if you're barely able to make it halfway through the season? A point that a lot of people are making is the fact that even though Embiid is missing these games, teams would much rather have Joel Embiid for 60 games than another just okay center for 70 games, which is fair, but not when the MVP race has players like Jokic, Giannis, Luka, Shea, and all of these top guys in it. It's already debatable with him healthy if he's more valuable than them. Then take into consideration that he's one of the most injury-prone players in the NBA, it seems like a no-brainer to not pick him. I do not want these takes to come off as Embiid hate because he has been great this year and I don't hate him like a lot of NBA fans do, but this whole conversation around the 65-game rule and the MVP race seems so stupid to me. To Draymond Green's point, when he accused the NBA of punishing players for getting hurt and why it's not fair for the NBA to punish players like that, what are we talking about? It's not like he's getting kicked off his team or any money's being taken off the contract. The NBA is just not letting him win an award meant for the most valuable player. The MVP is essentially saying this is the best player in the NBA. It's not a label that they're just going to throw around and give it to Embiid just because he played on par with players like Jokic, but he missed 20 more games than them. That makes no sense, and everybody knows it makes no sense. In any job, you are not about to miss a bunch of days of work and then also win Employee of the Month. It's common sense. Availability is an important asset. And for Draymond to also use Embiid trying to play that game against the Warriors just for the 65-game rule as a way to make the rule seem bad, like he did in this clip.
Joel playing tonight felt very much so because of the 65-game limit. Well, I think it's actually quite bullshit myself.
This is a stupid argument. Players try to play through injuries all the time, and they have throughout NBA history. And Embiid being injured isn't this new thing that's just now becoming a problem. He's been injury prone his entire career. At this point, we cannot act like Joel Embiid is truly the most valuable player in the NBA. Nikola Jokic, by his standards, is having an off year, and he's still averaging a near 26-point triple-double, and he's only missed 2 games this season. SGA has been averaging over 30, and he's leading the Thunder to a top 3 seed in the West right now. He is an amazing point guard and more of a contender for MVP than people realize. Giannis has been playing at an MVP level for years now, and even with Dame on the team, his production hasn't slowed down at all, averaging over 30 points per game while also being top 5 in rebounds per game in the NBA. The list goes on for people like Luka and even people like Jason Tatum, who's led the Celtics to the best record in the East by far, and he's been having a career year. The point is, as great as Joel Embiid has been, with the MVP race this stacked, with 5 other players who have strong cases to win it, are we seriously debating on if an injured Joel Embiid is more valuable than all of them? The Sixers are barely the number 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. Everybody else I mentioned besides Luka are on top 3 teams in the NBA. The argument has some merit when talking about all NBA team selections and how Embiid won't be listed as one of the top 15 players in the NBA, and obviously Embiid is a top 15 player. He's easily a top 3 player when he's healthy, but I'm not gonna lie, I could truly care less about all NBA teams. Nobody ever really cares, I know I don't, and if you care that much about the best players being on the all NBA team, and you want a injured Joel Embiid to win something that bad, then so be it. If that's your beef with the rule, cool I guess, but the individual awards like the MVP and the DPOY is where I feel confident saying that this rule should be in place and should have been for a while now. It's already been sort of a unwritten rule for years that you're gonna have to play around 65 games to even be in contention, which is why nobody has won it playing under 65 games for the past 46 years. But now it's a problem because they're actually putting the rule on paper and putting it into place. Overall, I feel like the move makes sense, and it's been blown way out of proportion by the media and by the fans, and the real conversation that needs to be had is not about the rule, but about Embiid's health issues at this point and how he's going to be moving forward. Like I said, he's going into surgery now, and he's going to be out at least a month, which means he won't make it to the All-Star game and won't be back until a little into March. It's obviously a sad situation. If he would have stayed healthy, he probably would have won the MVP, and it's sad seeing one of the best players in the world not able to play for over a few months without getting hurt again. In conclusion, I think the Sixers are a really good team, and I think they have a lot of potential, and they could do well in the playoffs this year, but as of right now, Joel Embiid does not deserve the MVP.